I did an ayahuasca ceremony a week before the pandemic. You guys know what ayahuasca is? So I did that.
I've never done it before. He's done it a couple times.
You have? Okay, so did you throw up? Did you purge and everything?
Not crazy, but a little bit the first time, yeah.
Did it pull some shit out of you, though?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I had never done it, but I'd done a lot of other psychedelics, and I did 2-night ceremony, and I did not vomit. In fact, I didn't have any bad experiences. It was beautiful. It was profound. I saw gorgeous creatures running through there. I did it thinking it's going to find some more shit in me. And it didn't pull anything out. And at first I was like disappointed. And then I was really proud of myself because I realized that's how much work I've done over the years to not let this little boy fucking control the man that I am now. And there's a quote that changed my fucking life when I heard it, and it's from Alan Watts, who's this great British philosopher, and it was, "You have no obligation to be the person you were 5 minutes ago." When I think about that quote, "You have no obligation to be the person you were 5 minutes ago," I realized so much of what I was holding on to was from this little angry, rashed child that hated himself and the world around him. But I'm not that person anymore. So why am I still holding on to any of that? You know? I got to ask, what did you learn about yourself after doing it? Or like, what was your takeaway?
It was just like a lot of release in it. It was real similar to like the first time doing mushrooms. Like you said, it opens up a very different perspective on the world and everything. So it was like, for that, it was very similar to that type of experience. It wasn't like it brought out a lot of stuff I've been burying, but it was like, it just felt like a very peaceful release of everything. Just a very calming feeling.
He smokes an enormous amount of weed. So I don't think you probably didn't take enough, right? He has like a high tolerance.
Oh no,
you don't need too much.
You don't need a lot of ayahuasca, dude. That's it's so different.
Really?
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, it is. It's such a different experience, and it is 6 straight hours of blasting into another universe. And the thing is, you do it usually in a room with there were like 20 people in the room that I did it in, and it's still very much like an illegal thing for the most part. Like there's ceremonies that you can kind of find if you know the right person, but most people vomit their fucking brains out, or they purge in some way, and you listen to 20 people in this room just like bah, bah. And the next day they're like, "Man, all this guilt and shame was just coming up, and I realized that I was a piece of shit to my first wife, and that I shouldn't have treated her like that, and I'm sorry, Susan, I'm sorry." Like, I listened to a girl talk about a woman say I could hear her going through some shit, because you can hear people crying, people screaming, people, having this, whatever experience it's giving them. This woman, the next day, because you sit around a group and you talked about it, did you guys do the same thing?
Yeah, we spent a couple days with it. It was just me, my buddy, and the guy who was like a shaman who put the whole ceremony on. It was just us 3.
Oh, gotcha.
And we spent a couple days in the woods with him where he lives out there, and then did it one night before we left. And so it was a cool experience. I mean, we just hung out and fucking played the guitar and the bongos for a couple hours and fucking just chilled.
But we were talking about it the next day in group in a circle, and you go through you're not allowed to comment on anybody else's experience. You just listen, and then you talk about your own experience. You don't compare yourself to others or anything like that. It's very open. It's very non-judgmental. But this woman, I knew I could hear her having a rough time. She kept asking for help from the shaman. She was crying a lot. And when she talked about what happened to her, she said that she was stuck in the Holocaust, where her grandmother had been persecuted and killed, and she was in basically a concentration camp experiencing everything her grandmother went through. Wow. And this generational trauma that had been stuck in her from her grandmother to her mother to now her was coming out of her in this very, almost violent way, because that shit had been stuck in her for years, since birth, basically. And then she got to release that. And I drove her home. She didn't have a ride home. I drove her home the next day, and we talked. And I was like, she was still very heavy, but you could tell like weight had been lifted. you know, from just having this experience. And that's the thing is people have all kinds of different experiences on it. But if you give yourself to a psychedelic and you allow it to take the work, that's the whole thing is you can't fight whatever it's trying to show you. You have to just give yourself and allow it to come and know that it's not going to kill you. You are going to be okay. Just sit down and hold tight and breathe your way through it. You're going to be fine. I always say there's no such thing as a bad trip. There's challenging trips. I mean, it's a bad trip if you fucking decide to get in your car and do something really stupid, like, you know,
You bite your friend's fucking face off.
like, is this gun a hot dog? Let me try to eat it. Yeah, you know, like, yeah, then you're having a bad trip.
Yeah.
But as long as you're in a safe situation, challenging, you're gonna go through some shit, but it's gonna teach you about yourself. And I think that's the most important thing to take away from all of that is just like, you know, allow the experience to happen, be open, and try not to be afraid of it if possible. You just got to go with the flow, and that's everything in life, right?
So how did this girl inherit this trauma from her grandmother? Was it because her grandmother like talked to her mother about it, who talked to her about it, or was it?
Generational trauma is a very real thing. You know, there's so much of what we are is passed down in our genetics. And if you're a person who is holding on to these horrible things that have happened to you or your family, there is a big part of that is inside of you. And a lot of that will inherently get transferred into your kin and into other people that you know, just because of just
Really?
in the same way that you know, that I have blue eyes, that person was like, had part of her grandmother's Holocaust experience within her. And that is a terrifying thing, especially if you don't know what it is. And that's the thing. Without ayahuasca, she probably never would have learned that she was holding on to that. She's like, she's just walking around thinking like, why am I unhappy? Why are things not, you know, going the way I want them to? Why this? Why? Because that is part of what's going on inside of you. If you talk to a lot of minorities feel this, right? Is they have like talk to black people about they are direct descendants of slavery and stuff like that. And there is this part of them that will never feel completely free because they have this, because they came from that. And it's just this weird thing that we as humans, like we, you know, that's what we get. We get some of the stuff that they look like, but we get a lot of their personality too. And part of their personality is going to be wrapped up in the experiences they've been through. And if they didn't deal with their shit, they're fucking going to give it to you.